Hey, g'day, how you going? This is the first day working with a thoroughbred breaker yearling. This filly has come to me to go into the racing industry after I've broken her in. This filly is massive. She's probably about 16 to 17 hands tall. Monster for a yearling thoroughbred. So what I'm looking to do here is just, when I start all my horses, I look to do some round penning. So when I look to do round penning, what I'm looking to do is to establish direction forwards. I want the horse to understand that I can move their feet forwards around the round pen when I ask. Everything I do is to try and set up for the next thing I'm going to be teaching. So the next thing I'm going to be teaching after round penning is lunging on the long line. So to help the horse understand to lunge on the long line, I want to establish some communication and have it understand the cues I'm looking to give it to move forwards and to change direction whilst round penning. So when I want the horse to move forwards in the direction I want to move, I'll point up to the sky in the direction I want the horse to go. I'll click, and then I'll start moving the either stick and bag or stick and string behind the horse to start, getting that forward momentum. I'm starting off here with the stick and bag. As I work with this horse for about 10 minutes, I've cut this video down a little bit, but as I've worked with this horse for about 10 minutes, she started to get a little bit dull and desensitized to the bag and found it difficult to get her to move and go off into a lope. So after I do a couple of changes of direction with the plastic bag, I then swap to the stick and string so I can actually make a little bit more energy behind her, and if needed, I can actually reach out and give her a spank on the bum to encourage her to go forwards. But she ended up going forwards pretty easily without having to do that. So that was encouraging. So as I'm asking her to move around, I'm trying to stay back behind her drive line to encourage her to move forward. So her drive lines is imagine a line running down from the top of her wither down to her elbow. If you step in front of her drive line, we want her to stop and change direction. Behind that drive line is to encourage forward movement. So whenever I want her to change direction and turn into me, I'll step in front of that drive line. So once I've established forward momentum and forward direction by pointing, clicking, and encouraging the horse to move forwards or increase her speed, I'll then ask her to start changing direction in towards me. So I want her to turn into the round yard and go back the other direction. When I do that, I'll step in front of her drive line to catch her eye, and then step back and give her space to move into and release that pressure. As soon as she moves into me and gives me two eyes, I'll reward that by moving as far away from her as I can. So move all the way to the wall of the round yard and let her face me and get her breath back. Now, the fact that she can get her breath back while she's facing me is the reward for doing the right thing. So this doesn't work if you've only lunged the horse a little bit or a few laps and it's not... it hasn't sort of worked enough to start panting. So we want the horse not to be exhausted by any means, but we do want it to start working a little bit. Because like I said, we want the horse to look for the right answer and to be looking for that rest spot. And when we give that rest spot, we want the horse to actually identify that by us allowing it to get its breath back, which is what it's looking for. So at the start now, I'm just looking to get her to change in and change directions towards me consistently. If she looks to turn her bum to me like she did then and go back the other direction, I'll cut her off and send her back the previous way that I was, and then start again. So if she gives me her bum, I'll send her back the other way, and as a reprimand for doing so. If she turns and gives me two eyes like she is there, I'll move right back out of her way, back to the corner, back to the fence, and give her a break. She looks to go the other way, I'll cut her off and send her back the previous way she was going. So, right thing, turn into me, I'll give you space, encourage you to draw into the center of the round yard, and give you a rest. You look to give me your tail and turn back the opposite way, I'll cut you off and send you back the previous way as to what you were going. So, point, click, and ask her to quicken up with her feet. When I want the horse to turn into me, I'll step in front of that drive line, but to get her attention first, I'll look to speed her feet up. So just then, I pointed, clicked, and then stepped in front of a drive line, but I made the mistake of not speeding her feet up enough and getting her attention enough. So she's a little bit sticky on that side to turn into me, but that was my fault for not getting her attention. So make sure that when you do look to step in front of their drive line, to encourage them to move and turn in towards you, you're getting their attention first. They need to be have one ear on you and actually be paying attention to you so that they don't completely miss the fact that you've stepped in front of their drive line and want them to turn in. So when you do ask them to quicken up, make sure you're doing so you're getting their attention and they do see you when you step in front of their drive line. When the horse does turn like it is now and give me 2 eyes, I'll let it rest. So this is the reward for it doing the right thing, and we're trying to train by conditioning the response of turning in, get your breath back, have a bit of a chill time, and then we'll move off the other direction. So the end goal of what I'm looking to do here is to have the horse stop, follow me, and end up in the center of the round yard resting with me and able to follow me around. So I've established forward direction. Now I'm starting to establish the consistent turn into the inside of the round yard. Once I establish consistent turning into the round yard, I'll then want the horse to turn into the round yard and face me and then go back the opposite direction in one sort of smooth motion to sort of encourage that momentum of into the round yard through the center and back the opposite direction. So we're still at the time now where we're establishing the horse, understanding in the horse to turn and face us and then move back the other way. So you see now she's still looking to face me, which is the correct answer really as far as what we're teaching her. So to get her to go back the other way, I'm just going to keep walking around the far edge of that round yard, pointing in the direction I want her to go, try and cause a little bit of energy on her opposite side to drive her away from where I'm looking, and see if I can get her to go back the other way. She turned the wrong way there. She didn't give me a tail, but we'll see if we can turn her back the other way. There we go. Beautiful. So the key there is just making sure I just keep her attention on me. So she saw me when I stepped in front of her again, and she did the right thing by moving into the round yard and back the opposite direction. Excuse me. So speeding up her feet. You can do this at a trot, but doing it at a canter gets a better result. So the reason why it gets a better result is because we're looking for the horse to actually start to work. So we want her to look for that rest. And it's tricky to get them to look to that rest if they're not really doing anything that's going to overly exert them. Like I said, you don't want to be chasing the horse around until it's exhausted or it's in fear, but we do want the horse to be doing an exercise at an intensity that will make it look to want to have a break when you allow it. So when you allow it, we want the horse to be looking for the right answer instead of thinking that it's got plenty of energy and it's just going to continue to tear off like a kid that's just been let out into the playground after being locked up for a while. So once again, we're still establishing that turn to the inside and having a rest when she's looking at us. And then we'll go and move her back the opposite direction. Now, if she wants to move off now and go off at a trot, I'm going to allow her to do so. And you see she's starting to trot a smaller circle around me. She's not all the way out on the outside of the wall, which is a good sign. She's starting to learn that. She's starting to think about what's going to be easier for her. Instead of tearing around the outside of the round yard, she's understanding that she can trot around a smaller circle next to me. That might be an easier thing for her to do. So I'm not against them trotting. Once you've worked them for a little bit doing this and they're consistently turning into you, I'm not against them looking to trot and have a little bit more of an easier time, as long as they've previously done some work to have them in the frame of mind to look for a spot of rest. So that's the key as well. As I continue on with this drill, whenever she looks to turn in, go the opposite direction, I'll just cut her off and send her back. So she's turning really nice at the moment, so I'm just going to reward that by stepping back, give her plenty of room, releasing all the pressure, letting her stand here and get her breath back. So I stood there for I've cut this video down just there, but I stood there and let her rest for at least a good couple of minutes, just to reinforce that looking at me and face me is the right thing to do. You see now she's very keen to keep her eyes on me, which is excellent. She's actually doing a fantastic job And previously, some of the mistakes I made when doing this was when I'd step in front of their drive line and they'd turn in to face me, I was making them do the work to look for the rest, but when they'd turn in and face me, I wouldn't back off and let them stand there and relax for long enough. I was too concerned with looking to get that consistent change of direction to the inside too early. And now after doing this longer and sort of reflecting on some of the mistakes I was making, I realised now that I'm getting a better result by letting the horse rest and look at me earlier on when they turn in to face me, to reinforce that correct behaviour of turn, face and rest. And then after I do that, then I start to do some continued consistent turns to the inside, keeping their feet moving and keeping that momentum up. So once we continue on here, however long I look to do this is pretty much comes down to if I can get the horse to obviously first move forwards consistently and establish that forward direction. Second, establish that turn to the inside. Give them a break when they're giving you those two eyes to air up and reinforce that that's the right behaviour. I'm then looking to do that consistent turn to the inside and keep that momentum up so they actually turn, trot across the centre of the round yard when I've stepped back and given them some space to do so, and then go back the opposite direction. So you're sort of doing figure eights across the centre of the round yard. And then after I've got the horse doing that, I'll then step off and step away from them when they turn into me and walk away to encourage them to stop moving and have them understand that I'm encouraging them to move into the centre of the round yard and to rest. So when I wanted to rest now, after doing that continued turn to the inside, when I do step in front of a drive line and step back, like I just did them before, as soon as she takes those couple of steps towards me, I'll turn my back and walk away and release that pressure as much as possible to have her understand that that she can rest and actually draw in towards me and into the centre of the round yard as much as possible. So my next move now is to look to get her to start to follow me around, so really get that joint up. So she understands to give me two eyes, and that's the best option for her as far as getting her rest and getting her stand still and just relax. So she's doing some licking and chewing there. She's quite chilled out. So now I've got that continued and consistent turn to the inside. Now looking to look at her hip and encourage her to disengage her hindquarters and move around and continue to face me. So the drill's gone from moving her off in a direction around the round yard to now putting my focus on her hip and seeing if I can get her to disengage her hip, unstick her feet and start to get her to follow me. So this starts now as you can see, is me looking to look at her hip and see if I can disengage her hip a couple of steps. As soon as she gives me those couple of steps, I'll reward that by stopping and taking the pressure away and standing there and letting her look at me. So the reward is as soon as she takes that first step behind, that's our starting point. And my release of pressure is to stop walking around and looking at her hip and to stand still and look away from it to take that pressure off. So now I've got those couple of steps now, looking for her to give me a couple of steps behind, and then I'll look for her to give her maybe a step in front. I just want to start getting her to draw in towards me. So I'm looking for that step disengaged of those hindquarters behind, and now if I can get her to take that one step in front and move towards me, I'll stop and I'll reward that, and we'll start to build on that draw. So then once you get that first step towards you and have the horse understand that if she walks towards you, you'll stop disengaging her hindquarters and move away, you'll very quickly start to get your horse to want to come up to you and start to follow you. So the goal is obviously, as you might have heard before, is you want your horse to catch you. And if she does walk up to the point where she does end up catching me, then I just love on her as much as possible. So lots of pats, let her rest. If she still wants to get her air back, of course, let her rest and get her air back as much as possible. And then we're back to go on the other side. So now she's taken a good couple of steps towards me and she's starting to very quickly understand, what the name of the game is. And what the easiest thing for her to do is I'll walk away from her, encourage her to come to me. And when she does come up to me and catch me, then we're just going to reward that as much as possible. So you can see she's still a little bit flighty. Now this filly did have a yearling prep and went through the sale. So she has been led before. She does understand. She has been handled. But she's still quite touchy and still quite hard to lead sometimes if she does get a fright. So, we just want to get her attention here and get her to follow us. Every time she sort of looks elsewhere, and you'll see up here, she looks to put her head down and scratch her nose a little bit on a front leg. We just sort of look to get her attention, make a little bit of noise by slapping our leg. If you need to step back in front of her eye line to then catch her eye line to get her to lock back onto you, make sure you do that. Sometimes if you're walking towards their hindquarters and they and you sort of, that connection you've got with them sort of goes away, sometimes they can then walk off. If so, you just go back to doing the join up drill by lunging them around the round yard, step in front of the drive line and get them once again to join onto you. Start by disengaging their hindquarters and then spiraling out and trying to get those first couple of steps in front. As you can see, once you first get those steps and have her disengage her hindquarters and then step forwards in front with her front legs towards you, things start to get a lot easier. And once you get them following around like this, it's all sort of a lot easier from then on. So from here, after this, she'll have a break, and then we'll start doing her first long line lunging session. Every time she looks to lose her attention on me, sniff the ground and sort of not lock on, I'll sort of slap my leg, make a little bit of noise, get her eye line and get her eyesight back on me, walk back around towards her hindquarters to disengage her hindquarters, which is the starting point for everything, and then spiral out and sort of encourage that forward motion, those couple of steps in front, and get her to follow me. So she did this drill really nicely, and we'll do some long line lunging next.